Leth. 2022 will complete the transformation begun in the last century on the subtle plane. Many of us will feel and some will see the meaning of change and our role in the new world. They will realize at last that this is now a different planet, and there will be no going back to the past. By the end of this year, humanity will move from trying to fix things to recognize the need to build the next civilization, because the previous one has sputtered out. It will mean the crisis of old structures and the sudden emergence of completely new ones. Each of these organizations, communities, associations will be amazed by their innovative approach. In 2022, we will constantly hear phrases like "no one does that," "it's ridiculous," "it's against tradition," and of course, "it's dangerous and impossible." But other structures are already born on the subtle plane and will begin to manifest more and more active in our physical world. Those who were waiting for some special portal on a particular date will see that it turns out we are already living in a different world. There is nothing more to expect from the outside. Go and create your life yourself. When it will be massively realized, then, from the subtle plane, co-creators, higher light hierarchs, and friendly cosmic races will once again remind us that they have only been waiting for us here on Earth to take responsibility for what is happening on the planet. This will be the beginning of very different contacts, not curators with benefit scroungers, perpetually whining and waiting for the event and the liberation from outside, but as equal partners. In the first half of the year, however, we will have to watch the storm in our feelings and collective consciousness caused by the destruction of the previous world on the subtle plane and partially on the surface. It is not often that we get to see the birth of a new, sixth civilization, being right in the center of the process. Today it is important for all of us to realize that if we have waited for change and accepted it, we are the ones who stand at the foundation of the next world order. Not hidden forces, not powers, not secret organizations, we are the ones. Most of these so-called powers that be are now in the midst of destruction. It is they who are gripped by terror, fear and chaos as their secrets are exposed, their plans turn to dust. Those of us, who have felt within ourselves the birth of something unusual, unrecognized, but felt by an important part of ourselves, are the builders of a new reality. Not improved, not changed, but completely new. And we, being the cornerstones of this, will find ourselves in the role of spectators, isolated from the agony of the system in the planetary and cosmic arena. Of course, if we get too carried away and wish to join the battle on the ground, that's when we get there. We can choose to be inside the groans, the crunching of bones, the screaming, and the rattling of weapons. It's readily available. The choice is ours. Do we go there or do we watch the demise of the 3D matrix from the outside? Important roles are already being distributed among those who will create the new structures. Most of them are ready, but some of them will have doubts. Am I crazy? Is it possible to realize what I have in mind if no one has done it before? If that's us, the answer is yes, it's achievable. If we communicate with those who will doubt, it is important to support them, to let them feel our confidence in their abilities. And they will be able to do the miracle they have in mind. The second part of 2022 will gradually extinguish the passions around change. The storms will subside, and the outlines of the new world will become clearer. This is not the end of change, but it is the beginning of a quieter period. Many mistakes will be made at this stage since the tools are still old and the mechanisms are new. We must remember that those who admit mistakes are ready for change. Let's not accuse people of defecting or turning on a dime. Let's assume that they have realized what they did wrong and that they can see how to act differently now. Let's give a chance to those who declare themselves ready for renewal. It will be important for everyone. It will mark the final phase of change. After all, we are responsible for the world around us and all good and bad people. So why not make everyone good? By not allowing others to have the right to make mistakes and to be aware of them, we do not allow ourselves to change our world. Let us realize that we are safest from the storms of 2022 precisely when we transform. And the more obvious transformation we find in ourselves, the more progress we will make. For each of us, 2022 means a direct correspondence to internal changes and external confirmations in the form of the desire's realization. This is the case when it is necessary to make the most radical desires. To choose what seemed impossible, unthinkable, lost in distant dreams. But here it is just unfolding right in front of us. This year is the best time to use our imagination in ways we have never dared to do. And if something frightens us, it is important to know that the greatest loss for us is our unused fantasy. Everything else is nothing. Everything else is trivial. Our greatest perceptions of ourselves are already ready for realization on the subtle and physical plane. The fantasy is how we want to see ourselves in the end, not where we are now and what can't we need to overcome. 2022 is a period of tearing down all the barriers in our path. Let us entrust this demolition to the outside world, which does not stop for a moment, and let us engage in inner creation. Our self-image of yesterday is already breaking down. This is the essence of the main trend of 2022. Our new view of ourselves is creating results now, facilitated by vanishing obstacles from the outside. How do we see the shore to which we are heading? Or are we more caught up in the storm along the way? Or are we unable to get out of the swamp of everyday life and apathy? What we look at, we plunge into. There is a direct correlation between the vibrations of the spirit, the vibrations of the body, and the vibrations of the greater cosmos. It is a closed-loop process. None of the links can be excluded or said to be less significant. On the one hand, all of our transformations are related to the light. In the literal sense of the word. Not something metaphysical, but the sunlight that each of us has access to. It's the carrier of transforming vibrations that come to us from the source through the greater cosmos. It influences our body, the work of our internal glands, which are involved in the processes associated with the amino acids that interact with our DNA. Our DNA is awakening. And it has another condition, another factor, the vibrations of our spirit. The level of its vibes will determine which vibes we can absorb from the entire light flow directed at us. That is the most important point. Our problems and illnesses are due to a difference in vibrations, ours and those of the light streams. It's simple, we can only resonate with what's in us and through that trigger transformations in our physical body that will further open us up to new physical and spiritual possibilities. All issues and troubles come from the dissonance of our ego with our heart, which directly interacts with reality. Our heart has an intention that manifests itself through our conscious life. And the ego, when it doesn't want to hear who it is, has a will. With it, our ego pushes through its vision of how and what it thinks should be. Our ego imposes its truncated picture of reality, its vision that does not extend beyond the inherent fears and limitations that have been formed in life. If the vibes and directions of our heart and ego go into the rupture, we have different problems. This vibrational struggle is precisely between the two parts of us, not between the great cosmos and us. Our heart is very big, large scale, and powerful in its vibrations. But most of us don't feel it and don't realize it. What is now coming from the greater cosmos must be built into our physical body for the transformation and new reality to take place. Only that which resonates with the vibrations of our heart can be tuned in. Our ego, which rules in manifested reality and considers itself in charge, can greatly undercut our vibes. This happens through fear, resentment, anger, jealousy, self-deprecation, and other low-freaks emotions and thoughts. The key to unlocking all our 24 DNA strands and gaining access to new abilities, transformations of the physical body, and through that to clairvoyance and clairaudience, telepathy, telekinesis, teleportation, etc., depends on our overall vibration level. When we generate and carry low-frequency emotions and thoughts, we cannot unpack information that is higher and freaks from the incoming light flows. The near and easily accessible frequencies will co-tune, with a small gap between them. The others, the most important ones, will pass by. Problems with our physical body, life, and society come about because of a very large gap and the potential difference between our heart and ego. When our ego chooses the opposite path from the initial movement of the heart, it doesn't just fall lower from one height. It lingers there, and then it rolls even lower and even lower. Such is the involution of 3D men in a freely chosen quality. When the heart and the ego choose equally and emit the same low vibration, then there is no torment of conscience, no delay in deciding to go over someone's head or betray somebody. There is full harmony there. Such a 3D person will simply be moved out of a layer of reality where the vibrations are much higher than his vibrations. Most often, relocation will be via death. But until then, he won't have much trouble in his life. He can be stopped, put in jail, for example. But he won't have any problems there either. He will find the right environment and lifestyle. Martin Scorsese shows it beautifully in his wonderful films. When the vibration gap is large, and our heart is trying to resonate in unison with the planet, and step out with it into the new possibilities of the new reality, the heart will start pulling up the part of us that is stuck below. And this is where it becomes unbearably painful. 2022 will complete the transformation. Here is another testimony of how hard it can go. For convenience, it's narrated in the first person. In the middle of the night, I felt a sudden cold, although the room was warm. It also happens during the day. Tonight, a total thrashing happened. I couldn't collect myself. I felt like I was sprawling, floating away. I was picking myself up, but I was falling apart again until I fell asleep. And in the morning it was as if I wasn't slept but unloaded wagons. I was incredibly tired after sleeping. No feeling of rest. No relaxation. My body is like ice. Hands and feet are trembling, palms and feet are tingling with needles. Heart's pounding like a sparrow. I can't get enough air. It's hard to walk. My legs feel heavy. Muscles are tense. Allergic rhinitis does not stop. Nose leaks, it itches all the time. Throat, nasopharynx feels tense. Dryness in the mouth. I drink water and can't get drunk with it. Tip, I add lemon juice, so at least that's some sort of satiation. Inside, tension. Outside, irritation. My body buzzes and vibrates. I only want to lie down. The feeling of pregnancy. Visually, the belly isn't protruding. But inside it feels like my stomach is expanding from the inside, even though I hardly eat. My intestines are clearing up. Nausea. Dizziness. Defocusing. In space, I see sparks, flashes, vibrating waves, particles of something flying at the speed of light. A strange happens to my eyes as if they're trying to catch something elusive. From time to time a shroud, lint prevents me from seeing. There is a constant urge to scratch my eyes, to get a cinder out of them. Or as if a glint sits somewhere on the edge of the inner eye and with its shine doesn't show the full picture. My eyes adjust to a different frequency, I notice unusual moments that I can't explain. But these moments are not like our usual surroundings, and it makes me dizzy. It's as if I'm in slow motion playback of a frame. Or I can perceive the subtle plane that's changing. The waves of light cut in too quickly, swiftly, instantly, unexpectedly. I find it difficult to assemble the picture with my vision, it scatters, and I try to piece it together in an old-fashioned way. But I feel that I need to learn to look differently. Space vibrates like a mirage in the movies. Or as in the summer, when there's heat, we see the air shivering over the asphalt and the image blurs slightly. I feel constant ringing in the ears. It's been taken to a new level. It's a different frequency, an octave higher. It becomes unbearable sometimes. I try to shift my attention so it doesn't bother me. The emotional state is unstable. Sharply respond to provocation. Tears, tears, tears. That's good. Let's cry for the road. It cleanses us. A lot of us try hard to adapt to 4D/5D reality and consciously deal with low vibrational emotions and thoughts. Not to think and expect the light streams, the event, or the flash to do everything for us. They won't. We must begin to change to keep up with the transition so as not to get stuck in a 3D dumpster. If we transform consciously, it will greatly speed up the process of alignment with high vibrations, reduce possible unpleasant situations, allow us to harmoniously accept new information from the greater cosmos, integrate it into our body, and unpack new portals through DNA to the subtle world, where completely different opportunities have long been waiting for us.